Alrighty guys, welcome to this live presentation. At least I think we're live. Hold on, I need to check. We're live, right? We're live. Yep, lore time, Bandit. We love lore time here. I see we got Southern 207 Hobbies in the chat. Tim's 3883, Allison Chains. Welcome everybody. For those curious, we are actually not in Railroader today. So, the title of the stream is a brief history of the QSRX. Now, many of you may know that as the reporting mark of my Railroader. So you may be surprised to learn that we are in fact looking for a game to capture in Train Sim Classic, of all things. Big's Hobbies is here. Hello. John Rhodes is here. Welcome, everybody. I hope you can hear me. Dolan 9 was saying, when I'll start. I hope you could hear me. I'm here. So, I don't know if we're going to get any friends in chat today, because this is kind of just a lore stream. But you may notice we are in Train Simulator Classic today, which is a little bit different. Than Railroad. And you may be wondering, well, why are we in Train Sim Classic? And that's because, folks, Train Sim Classic forms the basis of kind of what we're doing here today. This is where the Quakertown and Southern first took shape. Now, when I say first took shape, this is where it went from a 60-page PDF document or Google document to actually kind of mapping out operations and how certain things would work. So this location right here, we are in Quakertown. This forms basically the northern terminus of the railroad. Up here, we zoom on up. You may notice that we have a road and the tracks don't continue across, and it kind of transitions into a path. That's because, folks, this is based off of the current state of the former Reading Bethlehem branch between Philadelphia and Bethlehem. Specifically, this is between the towns of Quakertown and Lansdale, Pennsylvania, currently operated by two railroads, the East Penn Railroad in the north between Telford and Quakertown, and then between Telford and Lansdale, as well as the other points, the Pennsylvania Northeastern takes over operations. So what the Quakertown and Southern is my, super hyper lottery, have lots of money dream of if we were able to buy the line, which is about 18 miles long, and go and turn it into not only a freight short line, but a restoration and tourist line, complete with a shop complex and, historic equipment. And that's what this ultimately is. So what we have here is actually sitting here with the primary freight motive power, two SD50-2s. Yes, they are in CSX paint. So that's the downside of using Train Sim Classic. I have to use kind of what is available to me, and I guess we're a little loud, so I'm going to back up a little bit. I have to use kind of what's available to me. So the primary freight power right now is two SD50-2s. And the main reason for that, you may think, well, it's a branch line that maybe only sees 14 cars a trip. Why do you need SD50s? And the main reason is, as you kind of saw up this way, and as you'll see as we go further down the line, one of the ways the current line under East Penn ownership and Pennsylvania Northeastern ownership, and I say ownership, they actually lease the line from SEPTA, is for car storage, where you get just trains of cars and you need a place to store them. So that's why we go a little overkill on the power, even though these SD50-2s are effectively SD40-2s because of how SD50-2s kind of work electronically. Branch trees, find out. Exactly. They kind of need a way to handle those longer trains. So current freight power is now SD50-2s. I might change that out to be something a little bit more reasonable. That's what it is right now. The primary passenger power is in the form of 2 E8A locomotives running in push-pull service, as well as a bunch of roomette sleepers turned into coaches and a dining car. And it's just to provide basically what effectively amounts to tourist commuter service along 16 to 18 miles of railroad. And I need to stress, this is purely an idea. It's a fictional idea based on a real location. And it's definitely an idea that I keep in the back of my mind. Now, you may notice our scenery here is a little lacking as you get further away from the track. This route, I unfortunately have not had time to work on in about a year in Train Sim Classic. So we're having to use a little bit of our imagination in order to get kind of going here. But it's still, all the tracks here, all the grades are here. So we still know what's up, and everything is kind of in its place. So how this stream is going to work a little bit, we're going to go for a little bit of a ride. We're not going to go for a round trip, but we're going to go for about an hour-long trip from Quakertown to Lansdale. Because in this hypothetical, track speed is 25 miles an hour, except in Yarth, where it's about 10. And we're going to just take the usual passenger train and just go for a nice little ride. And if you guys have any questions, you can either super chat them or leave them in chat. I will gladly answer them. I'll answer as many as I can, as effectively as I can, because obviously with this being a fictional idea, there's certain details I don't know for sure. And just kind of get what you guys kind of think about our neat little branch line. You may notice we do have an RDC on the QNS, and that RDC is actually supposed to be Lehigh Valley 40, currently at the Railroad Museum of Pennsylvania. And it helps, form off-season lighter travel for the passenger car. So this is if you had a few billion you blow on. Effectively, no, you're kind of almost spot on there now. It wouldn't be a few billion, luckily. It would the amount of money would definitely require a few million for sure. But it's one of those things where if you think about it enough, it could, in theory, be feasible. And I just kind of wanted to see what would happen. Now again, this would involve kind of taking certain aspects of the line and upgrading it. And going from there. However, we wouldn't necessarily it wouldn't be like, oh, we're going to upgrade the line to 60 mile an hour running with concrete ties like that. That's not what this is meant to be. It's meant to be a realistic representation of what would in theory happen should somebody have a few million and be able to do something like this. So as we get going here, you notice we'll be passing some ballast cars because maintenance away is important. Industry-wise, the Quakertown and Southern, and I can actually pull up a map here because we're in this mode. Down here is Lansdale, where it meets SEPTA as well as the Pennsylvania Northeastern. The Pennsylvania Northeastern, in fact, actually still handles via trackage rights in this scenario. Obviously, they do this through their lease agreement now. Up until about this crossing right here, they handle the industries on the southern end of the line. Past here is all Quakertown and Southern handled industry. Now, there's not a lot of them, hence the car storage business, which definitely helps because car storage is important and helps pay the bills. But this is just kind of what this is meant to be. As we pull out of town, we got a slight grade coming uphill here. And then we'll be able to start getting up to about 25. Now, this railroad uses a concept that I've been calling a tourist commuter concept, because there's about 6 stations this line stops at. The RP's here, welcome. That's been March, no, the train did not go boom. And thank you, Dallin. I don't know that necessarily that would be a good business venture, but it's definitely something I've thought about and would think would be a neat thing for the area. The amount of money to in fact do it, however, would likely be, again, it would be in the tens of millions at the very least, just to get it going. And you know, you don't necessarily want to be spending tens of millions. That's why it's a little that's about the only unrealistic part about this. But crews would handle freight. The freight would work around the passenger train, and on the hour, pretty much every 2 hours, there would be a round trip from Quakertown to Lansdale and return, providing not only kind of a connection point for commuters, but also a tourist historic experience along a former Reading Railroad branch line. And it's just one of those things that this is what I like doing. I like kind of gaming things out and seeing and just kind of logistically planning something out to see how it would work. And this is one of those things. Grimsdale may or may not be venturing into the machine shop things. Well, I hope that goes well for you. Machining is very important, and I know a lot of places are looking for machinists right now. So I hope that goes well, Grimsdale. So as we come out of Quakertown, I mentioned we have 6 stations we need to serve. I want to make sure we don't overspeed too bad. Really easy to do. It's not a necessarily grueling grade on this railroad, the steepest grade. Ping everyone, Carl's not working. Carl, it did work. I got a ping from Carl. Also, hi JSJ. This railroad doesn't necessarily have a lot of ruling grades, but it definitely likes going up and down. Max grade along the line is about 1.5%, maybe like 1.4%. So it's not necessarily a challenging bit of railroad, but it's not necessarily a set and forget ride either. So like I said, these are real locations with, again, the track plan is modified to suit the needs of the railroad. But it's one of those things. One of those things. I keep mentioning we have 6 stations that we stop at. So first station is Quakertown. That's the northern end of the passenger line. Then we start going downhill, downgrade, to Percy, where we have Percy Station. Then we have Sellersville Station. We have Telford Station. And then we have Souderton Station. And then we have a bit of a run to Lansdale Station. And again, it's one of those things where you need to, where these places, at each of these places, there's already existing customers, existing partnerships you need to kind of respect. A lot of these stations that I just listed off have businesses in them that they're either leasing the property from SEPTA or from somebody, and you need to respect that. So a key part of this line would be to continue to foster those relationships and allow those businesses to stay in place and not kick them out, while still providing a valuable service or tourist experience. to the area, to southern Bucks and northern Montgomery counties here in Pennsylvania. Weird you didn't get a single ping on Heises or yours. I would say, JSJ, make sure you have @mentions enabled for the server, because I ping, in my server, I ping, in mine, I have a Midland content notify, and then in Heises server, there's the Heises Friends content notify. So make sure you have pings turned off. So that may be maybe why you didn't get it. And as you can see, as we make our way, again, it's not a blistering pace. It's 25 miles an hour. But you still have the car storage business along the sidings here, and a lot of this infrastructure is here. In fact, about the only upgrades that have been made are a few switches on the northern end, as well as the signaling system. And again, the whole goal would not be to be like, oh, we're going to run Amtrak SC44s at 110 miles an hour. But we're also not going to go at 5 miles an hour either. You got 4 from me last night. I only sent out... Oh, I sent out the... I think I sent out a support group last night. And then Angry and I streamed as well. So, that's possible. And you'll probably get 4 more again tonight. That's possible. Alright, so now we're going to go downhill. You can see we still have more of the car storage business. Here up at the old quarry. This is an old quarry. You can see the pit filled in up there. And this, we're about to get on what is considered kind of the primary grade of the line. But we're going to be going down it, which is going to be fun. So once again, if you guys have any questions, I would be happy to answer them. I want to make this kind of interactive. You can either super chat them to guarantee I'll see it, or you can put them in chat. And I will definitely try to get to the ones in chat. Get to as many as I can. I am human, unfortunately. So as you see, as we start going over the grade here, we're going to start going down at about 1.5%. So we're going to start taking a little bit of air. So just make sure we don't careen out of control. And I sure hope on this storage cut of tank car somebody set the handbrakes, because that would be bad. You're here for the free train ride. Okay. Well, you're gonna get a free train ride one way on the Quaker Town and Southern. Am I sure I'm not a lizard? Last I checked, I am not a lizard. So you notice we don't necessarily have this longest passage rate in the train world. That's because the platforms aren't exactly that long. In fact, the longest platform available to the railroad is actually at Telford. And even then, that's not that long. So having a longer train is not exactly ideal. Because again, this is a tourist commuter experience. You're keeping to a timetable just using historic equipment. It also would help if I could adhere to the speed limit, but we're trying. Storage cut of intermodal cars. And as we come around the corner here, we're actually going to be passing the Percy Airport as we dive into the Percy Tunnel. This tunnel is actually, again, still present. The East Penn Railroad runs through it currently. And basically still operates this tunnel. It's the only tunnel on the line, and it's actually a decently long tunnel. standing in at about a half-mile inland. One switch was not aligned for our movement, so we're going to fix that. Again, we're diving underneath the little regional airport here. And just kind of chillaxing, train ride in a couple of V8s. So as we dive into Percy, the reason I chose 25 on this, and that's usually DRP, my primary freight power, and I'll show it off when we get stopped at the Percy station, is two SD50-2s. Now what an SD50-2 is effectively an SD40-2, but in an SD50 car body, because they downrated the prime mover and upgraded the electronics. Why such a big motor power on such a small little 16-mile branch line? Well, car storage. You want to keep massive half-mile long cuts of cars that you need to get out of storage. You need power in order to handle. So I don't know if I like the title. A live video. I'm going to change it to a live vlog. Breaks a little too much. And here we go, coming out of Percy Tunnel into Percy. Routed into the platform. You may notice a lot of the line used to be double track, and that was a remnant of the Reading days. In fact, in some spots it was even triple tracked. Unfortunately, in this modern day and age, they basically only use the one track, just because the other ones have fallen into disrepair. They're good enough to be used for storage, but they're not really good enough to be used for anything else. But as we pull into Percy, I want you to notice we're pretty much pulling right into downtown. It's hard to tell because this route is not done. And I do want to do kind of more live streams and build streams of this. So that way we can kind of get this finished out for everybody. But the QNS used to be thick. Yeah, a little bit. Back when it was the Reading days. Not when it... Obviously, again, I need to stress. The QNS does not exist in real life. At least at this time. Well, it does, but it's not the QNS. It is two other railroads. As we're going to overshoot the platform. That's fine. Again, these platforms are kind of small. We want to clear the single block anyway. Alright. So as we stop here... zoom back up to... Oh, it won't let me. Alright. I'll have to show it off again a different time. But basically we use two SD50-2s for long storage cuts of cars. And two E8s as the primary passenger car with a bunch of roomette sleepers converted to coaches and a dining car. Because, commuters need lunch. Though, as we pass through Percy, I would be remiss if I did not point out the old freight house. And actually, apparently, there's still a boxcar there. It's not a New Haven boxcar. This is just a stand-in because trains in Classic be like that. But some of these tracks are still buried in the pavement and still there, and it's just a neat little bit of history that we don't often think about. In fact, this signal stand right here, if I remember correctly, is still here from the Reading days, and subsequently SEPTA. So that's a neat fun fact about this line. Push-pull diesel passenger service actually used to be done on this line. And what I mean by that is, in SEPTA, back when SEPTA first formed, they took over a lot of the old Reading and Pennsylvania branch, commuter branches. And on this part of the line, the Reading was doing push-pull diesel operations with FP7 diesels. In fact, 3 of those diesels still exist. Number 900 at the Reading Tech Museum in Hamburg. Their other FP7, which is now at the Woodstown Central 902, as well as sister unit 903, which Woodstown actually bought. They used to run push-pull commuter passenger service on this line up until about 1981. In fact, July of 1981 is, I believe, the last time it ran. It was either 81 or 86. Yeah, July 26, 1981 was the last day diesel passenger service was provided by SEPTA. Meaning this hasn't been done since, unless it's been done virtually. So just a neat little fun fact. Push-pull diesel ops is not actually unheard of for this branch line. Now the fun part is, because of how the line used to be, and it was double track for a lot of its life, and it still is in a large part, they basically had stations on either side. They had platforms on both sides, but the station building was on one side or another. And as a result, as we get into actually specifically even Sellersville here, you'll notice the station building is on the opposite side of the tracks. In fact, it's currently occupied by another, like, more local business. And as a result, needs to be kind of accounted for as we pass under Everett. Now, the goal of this, if this were to ever happen, would be to provide a tourist commuter service. So you go, it wouldn't be like your Strasburgs or your New Hopes or anything like that, where you pay a ticket price of $20 and you get one round trip and that's it. You would basically be paying for a tourist ticket, or not a tourist ticket, a commuter ticket on this line. Meaning it could actually be used to, in theory, be used to provide a commuter link from Quakertown to Lansdale, and from Lansdale effectively out to Philadelphia. That would be the ultimate goal here. It wouldn't just be to provide, oh, here's a neat choo-choo, though neat choo-choo is neat choo-choo. We like neat choo-choo. However, it would also just be to provide a actual running operating service as we break into Celebration Station. Stop the bridge. And that's the challenging part about this. We're actually right now on a 1.1% downgrade. So you're going downgrade from Quakertown to Lansdale no matter what. Train trying to go zoom. Alright. Get back up to 25 miles an hour. But part of that would mean there would be an actual timetable to keep. You would have to keep to a set schedule, and you would have to run trains to that schedule. That's actually why the RDC is involved in this idea, to help provide kind of a backup to the normal passenger train. But also, that's why the freight power is what it is, so it can potentially fill in and go from there. Allison changed connection time to minute. It is not time to minute. We are going for a leisurely ride on the QNS. The actual QNS idea, based out of Quakertown, PA, down to Lansdale. Gotta get that Pennsylvania subsidy money for commuter service. Yeah, no, that would absolutely be a strategy as a part of this business, is to go for those grants and subsidies to provide this link while competing with for commuter space with, you know, Route 309 right here. I'm glad you mentioned that, Bandan. Maybe add an extra first class car for revenue, private club, similar to what the Pennsylvania CBW had. There would be private cars involved in this. In fact, there would be two. You potentially saw them up at the shops, up in Quakertown, and they would be able to be used as rental cars. So you could rent them, private car, for a whole day, and basically get the private car experience on the whole railroad. The railroad would also use them to, you know, for official business, you know, customers and everything. Throttle slipped into Hachi like Nah, I think I just hit a button. But yeah, as we go under, this isn't Route 309, but we're going at a certain ragtime band too. Oh, if a certain ragtime band was willing, absolutely. Absolutely. Live entertainment in the dining car, where people can buy snacks and lunch. You know, why not? Oh, there's a hen roll. Is that a hen roll I hear?
Back to hen roll. Hello.
It is a hen roll.
What's happening? What's going on? You're giving lore out.
I am giving lore out.
Are you the Lorax, or are you just giving lore out?
Just giving lore out. Here, I'll go live for you so you can see.
Excellent. I'm here, and it may not also be.
What's up, General?
What now? I said I may or may not also be watching your stream on YouTube.
Ah, okay. Well, I'm streaming in Discord, so now you can see.
Excellent. And have it synced.
Yes. So we just went under Route 309, which would actually be the commuter side of this primary competition. They are now making the climb up to 1% into
1%, you said?
Yeah, the 1% into Telford. Now, as we climb into Telford, you'll notice there's this passing sign here, and there's actually a control point here for this passing sign. That's because this is like the only passing sign that would be functional as a passing sign on this railroad. Meaning this is where the freight train would have to meet the passenger train in order to be like out of the way. Which is convenient because there's a plastics plant that takes 4 hoppers right there on the passing sign.
There appears to be a lack of plan.
Yes. As I've explained earlier, there is this is the state the railroad is in after a year of taking a break from constructing it, or actually more than a year. So I need to actually fill in the scenery a little bit, which is me.
Gotcha. So you took a bit of a hiatus on your railroad.
Yeah. I mean, it's nice because this is a real location, so I can use the real life reference to fill in buildings. But then also it's Train Sim Classic, so I have to substitute a lot of buildings, and finding a good substitute is always fun.
So you got to do proxy essentially.
Essentially, yeah. But if you go on Google Maps in this location where this passing siding is, you'll look and you'll see there's actually condos and apartment buildings off to the left-hand side here.
Mm-hmm.
And there's also the abandoned third track right here. And you can see Telford up ahead. Telford next.
Now why is the third track abandoned?
So this was a former Reading branch out of Lansdale. And when the Reading was here, obviously the Reading was a lot busier than SEPTA and currently Pennsylvania Northeastern and the East Penn Railroad are.
Mm-hmm.
As such, they didn't need that third track or even the second track, because the line was at least dual track in a lot of places. So it fell into disrepair, got cut, torn up, etc. And
gotcha.
As a result, the roadbed's there, some of the track's still there, but it's just not in use. and makes great for storage sidings for car storage.
Matter of fact, it looks like it's disconnected across that grade crossing.
Yes, it is. Even though through that grade crossing it's connected.
Yes.
You can tell when they repave the road on sometimes. But welcome to Telford, home of the longest platform on the line outside of Lansdale. And apparently Bandit's following along on Google Maps for us.
Ah. But I was gonna say, so you're intimately familiar with having to remove tracks from grade crossings.
I'm intimately familiar with the art of maintenance of way, yes.
Yes. Well, you're doing a double-ended point-to-point service.
Yeah. It is
I
point
see.
to point. There is no there are runarounds that you can do. But when we get down to Lansdale, I'll show you why we did not end up going for a runaround service and instead went
Tell
to
me why.
the traditional, actually Reading style push-pull service they actually used to run on this branch back in up until 1981.
Are those Amtrak F units?
They're E units, and they're standing in for the
E
actual
units.
These are all the equipment is stand-in. Like, the equipment would be roomette sleepers turned into coaches, which is true. These are roomette sleepers. A dining car, so there's a dining car. And then there would be 2 E units, not in this paint scheme, and not necessarily numbered well, kind of numbered these numbers, but not in this paint scheme.
I just had a thought. Does Amtrak even still have E units?
Nope.
Didn't think they did. I actually don't think there's any E or F units currently in active service with any Class 1 railroad, is there?
Not Class 1s. There's a few on Class 3s and Class 2s.
I know in Class 3s and 2s, but kind of a shame. I think the executive train with Norfolk Southern was the last, which that went the way of the dodo.
Yeah. Though you can still see some of those. Band and push-pull is historical, or pull-pull engine on both ends is historical, but it'd be push-pull with the cab car. I explored that possibility, but if you're using historical equipment, because again, this will be kind of the point of this would be, it's a commuter service using historic equipment, therefore it is also a tourist attraction. But because of that, running MU lines through everything, which is possible, and having a cab car, I don't want to have your stereotypical, you step onto a commuter train, and you definitely for sure know it's a commuter train because it's cramped and it's hard and it's plastic and it's not comfortable. That just doesn't sound like a good time to me. The whole point of this idea would be to make it a little bit more comfortable and a little, like, as a whole more upscale, but also, you know, still a commuter service. Oh, that's right, Brandon. CN and UP still have E units and F units, and CPKC has the KCSF units. I keep forgetting that.
Well,
And
that's
technically,
right,
the
yeah.
Pan Am F units are a part of CSX now.
Wait, they got the Pan Am? What?
Yeah, they bought the Pan Am like 4 years ago. So all the Pan Am equipment is now
Technically Class 1.
technically Class 1, yeah. Though the
But are they
UP doesn't
active
really
use?
use their E units anymore. They're kind of stuffed in
Yeah.
the end. Though they're not officially retired, which is hilarious.
But they're not active use.
Yeah.
That's what I was talking about, was active use, because like I actually got to see the Norfolk and Southern executive train up close and personal.
I remember you saying that. You're like, oh, I saw an F unit on a passenger train in Georgia or something. And I'm like, oh, you didn't
No.
see a passenger train. You're like, yes, I did.
No,
I'm
no.
like, no, you saw the executive train.
No, I knew exactly what it was, but it was, the thing of it was it was completely on accident, because I was walking to class. I was in the middle of Columbia, South Carolina, on some random day, walking to class, and I said, huh, and and when I walked to class, I had to go across railroad tracks, because I was mechanical engineering major, and the engineering school was like a mile away from the main campus, up a hill.
Because of course.
Well, it's at the bottom of a hill. And so I had to leg it up the hill for any classes that I had on the main campus, which thankfully was few and far between. But I was walking across the tracks, or I was about to walk across the tracks, and I said, "Huh, I think I hear a train." And I round the corner of the building, and I looked down the tracks, and I said, "Oh, those are F units. Oh, that's the executive train." And it was just sitting there, like less than 100 feet from the crossing, just idling, and it sat there for probably about an hour or so. But I went all around it, took pictures. I still have the pic. I think I posted the pictures at one point or
Yeah,
another.
you've shown me the pictures. I know that much.
So it was impressive. Wish Norfolk and Southern wasn't uber stupid and got rid of the really pretty train. But
Well, the
they
pretty
do what they
train
do.
is still around. It's just the pretty motive power isn't.
Well, the pretty motive power was what made the pretty train. To be on, let's be honest.
Yeah.
Like, it's not the same. Like, you can't tell me that anything besides the F units looks anywhere near as decent on the executive train.
True. But speaking of train, we are now in Percy, home to a restaurant which now occupies the station. So we're using the other platform to be not in the way. Plus, also,
I mean, you could've-
this siding here is just a siding.
I was gonna say you could just pull a class 1 and just block the entire
see,
intersection.
That's actually you could, but you notice in my entire time doing this, yes, I'm out of practice. I used to be able to stop this a lot more accurately.
Mhm.
But the whole operating principle of this line would be good community relations, not blocking crossings. You know, keeping all the businesses that have now occupied the stations for who knows how long, you know, in business and there.
Happy.
Yeah, and ultimately keeping everyone happy. The one thing, if this were to happen in real life, I would not relent on, is if they tried to implement a quiet zone.
Yeah.
I'd be like, no, I know you don't like diesel horn at 7 o'clock in the morning. However, it is only for 3 crossings, and we need that so people know train is coming.
Well, you know, it's kind of funny you mentioned that, because I know for a fact, you know, the whole joke about people move near racetrack, complain about noise type thing.
Yeah.
So, in my hometown, well, I guess you could say hometown, like the general area I lived in, there was a old textile mill that someone came in. It sat abandoned for years and years and years. Someone came in, ripped out all the asbestos and lead and all that good stuff, and converted them into stupidly expensive, high-end, swanky apartments.
Yeah. Which honestly is a good use of that space.
Oh yeah. The only problem is the CSX main line, which is like through there, I think it's a 2 or 3 track main line. I think it's a 2 track. Just so happens to be sitting right there, like 200, 300 feet from the building. And it's got a trestle and it's got a grade crossing right there, or 2 grade crossings actually. And so naturally, you know, you got big freight train rolling through. People are complaining about the train horn at the crossings. And so they threw a big enough fit that they implemented a quiet zone there. And I can't help but think of how dangerous I would think that would be.
Yeah.
Especially considering it's like consecutive crossings and a bridge.
Yeah.
On a multi-track main line.
Yeah,
So
I will never agree with quiet zones. As Grimsdale said, 7 a.m. diesel horn sounds like a free alarm clock. Just imagine when it's 7 a.m. steam whistle, because guess what? The IRL idea of the QSRX, as pointed out by CVK Studios, this is not Railroader. This is what the QSRX would be if it was real in train sim classic form. does in fact have a steam program with 2 steam engines.
I would, if I had the money and I could buy like a little short line, I think I would have like, some diesel power lying around just because, practicality's sake.
Yeah.
But I would try to make it a point to make the majority of my revenue and commuter passenger stuff steam.
See, I would try to. I would on this idea. I have steam on the weekends, and then I actually bring back like a railfan weekend where both engines are fired up and they're just like swapping the train between them.
Yeah.
And things like that. Just a quick little side note. Quick little side note as we come around the bend here. This crossing right here is the beginning of Pennsylvania Northeastern trackage rights, at least in this idea. In real life, they go all the way up to Telford. But in this idea, this would be all served by Pennsylvania Northeastern. Mainly because I didn't want to have the QNS have to deal with it.
Okay. I still think it's funny. What's the railroad that runs like they have like a little? It's up there in Pennsylvania somewhere. They have like a little 260 or a 262, and they running around hauling revenue freight every now and then.
I think you're talking.
Yeah, Everett. Yeah, I still think it's hilarious to see the little mogul with the high cube boxcars running around.
Hey, you gotta get the engine somewhere. Why not make it work?
I mean, yeah, it works. But it's so disproportionate. It's just hilarious.
Well, also, thank you to ZBK Studios for your super chat. It's greatly appreciated.
Excuse me. But you know what I think would be awesome to have on like a line like this? How let me just ask this. How many mile long is your fictional railroad?
So the whole line is about 18 miles long. The passenger portion of that's about 16 miles.
So you know what I think would be really great? Would be one of those like New York Central / what was it? Not New York Central / Burlington. No, it wasn't Burlington. What was the one that had the 466s?
The B&A?
B&A, that's it.
Boston and Albany.
But Boston and Albany, that's it. Yeah. But just pull one of those out and have those run your commuter service.
I need more range.
I mean, that's what they were designed to do, though. They were designed for suburban.
But remember, there was a lot more water stops back then.
You got the money. You're running a class 3
shoreline,
railroad.
yeah, making loads of money. Also, speaking of making loads of money, here is Hatfield Station, currently occupied by actually a small business selling, I think, pottery and furniture. But you may notice we are not stopping. That's because that station is marked as unused. That doesn't mean it would always be unused. But given that the platform is not there, and there's no platform on the other side, and there's no way of getting across this storage track siding to the track, it has been elected to not use that. Plus, it's also close enough to Lansdale, it doesn't really. Also, apparently, I have express permission from ZBK Studios to highball. See, the problem is, ZBK Studios, we're doing this per the timetable of the QSRX, which means no highball. Track speed is 25.
Albany and Eastern. Okay, I might have been mixing the two. I think I was thinking of Albany and Eastern.
The Everett has their little mogul that they put on freight. The Albany and Eastern also sticks that little prairie on freight too.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking of. Because I remembered I was thinking there was a mogul. I just couldn't remember which one had which. Howdy, Kiriara.
Howdy. Yes, you did hear Lansdale. In fact, we are approaching Lansdale right now. We are making our way through Hatfield.
In McCoy?
Our switches are aligned properly.
Nah,
Leave the
don't
car
check
so-
switches. Just trust it. Trust that the track crew put it back right.
Always normalize your switches.
This has been a public service announcement. Did I tell you about the? Did I tell you about the Brecon Mountain Railway?
Yes, you have.
Did I tell you that they run exclusively spring switches?
Yes.
Yes.
Always fun. ZVK Studios, we have General with us today. Van Dan. That was kind of a one-time thing. The fire excursions. Yeah, that's fair. Kitty R. Lansdale has straight up the worst station you've dealt with in terms of crisscross paths and confusion. You deal with the station a lot. Yeah, Lansdale's not ideal, but hey, you're about to see some of a little bit of changes that we put up to it.
You know what your railroad's missing. And I take it back. I had an even better idea for what you could use as like a dedicated commuter passenger train, steam locomotive. Considering no other railroad that I know of has one running currently, an Atlantic.
Well, so the IRL idea, the QSRX, is to not use an Atlantic, but to use a Jubilee.
Okay.
Basically, part of the idea would be to buy, in this hypothetical scenario. And you notice I keep emphasizing that a lot. This is not real life. This was an idea I had. This is an idea. They have the idea includes buying and restoring the 2929 out of Steamtown.
$29.29.
Little CP Jubilee.
Oh, that's the yeah, the CP one. What's that looking like now?
It's pretty rough.
Kind of fallen into disrepair. Ooh.
Yeah. Reject road, embrace rail superiority. Exactly. And that's why I kind of had this idea. It's like, let's use historic equipment, maintain it well, and put it into effectively commuter service, but at a kind of more upscale, commuter service and touristy experience, and have fun. For those wondering, we are now approaching Lansdale, which means I need to actually get into the QSRX platform, which means we're not going down track 3, we're going down track 4.
You could reject all. You could just take the path of reject all efficiency and use a Shay.
No, never.
Never a Shay.
Never Shay. This is So, a key part of being a commuter railroad is sticking to a timetable, as Shay would not be able to keep to the timetable.
It just depends on how liberal your timetable is.
Not at all.
I mean, like, technically speaking, you could set a timetable to a Shay speed.
Yeah, the timetable would be a round trip a day.
Well, I mean, that sounds like a personal issue.
Yes. Well,
Just have a couple more passing tracks and just have the other trains go around it.
yeah, Shay. I have a lot against Shays, not least of which them being slow.
Slow, I will admit. Eating their inventor, I will admit. But they're just kind of funky and cool.
I'll give you funky. I won't give you
There's something neat about having an offset boiler and then just like vertical engine or vertical like steam engines on a train.
Meanwhile, as we're talking about Shays, we have entered Lansdale Yard Limits, which would be the interchange between the Pennsylvania Northeastern and CSX with the QSRX. We would also be taking over platform 4 of Lansdale Station, not least of which because they don't use it. Or at least don't use it all. Sorry, I was like train. Yeah. Use the Shea round trip to avoid doing meetings. So as we come into Lansdale, on our left, you're actually going to see the interchange yard with the massive parking garage for the SEPTA station, the condominiums and apartments, some NJT Aero cars filling in for Silverliners, as well as the Pennsylvania Northeastern Power, or at least some of it. Some SD60s, a couple SD40s, and, not least of which, the sole remaining in the US C39-8.
Is there only one left?
In the US, yeah. There's rumors there's a second, but confirmed there's only one. The rest went to Mexico.
Seems legit. Mexico stealing all of our U-boats.
It's not a U-boat, it's a GE.
It looks like a U-boat. I'm gonna call it a U-boat.
It's not a U-boat.
Close enough.
It's a -8.
Close enough.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, we are arriving at Lansdale Platform 4.
If it will make people mad, I will continue to say it. I am here to cause controversy and not elaborate.
Of course you are, Jim. Now, if you're looking at Google Maps, you may have noticed that in this idea, we actually lengthened the platform here in Lansdale. This is technically the longest platform on the line, but it was lengthened just to help accommodate our trains a little bit more.
Let's bots.
Yeah, that's fine. I keep forgetting that WASD actually controls the train.
Do the Amtrak. Have you ever seen like an Amtrak just straight up slamming on brakes to get into a station?
All in can.
I don't know what it is, but the Crescent, they're like long haul train that goes from like I think it goes from like New York to New Orleans. When it came through the station at my town, it went from like 70 to nothing in just a ludicrous amount of time. You could smell the brakes burning as it came to a stop.
Yeah. So this is Lansdale. Now, I promised when we got here, I would explain why we don't do runaround moves on the railroad. And it's actually purely because of Lansdale Station. In Lansdale Station, the idea would be to take over platform 4 right here. Okay. Well, the problem is that leaves platform 3, 2, and 1 all to be used by SEPTA. And once they're being used by SEPTA, it means they can be occupied by SEPTA, as seen by this set of helpfully filling in Aero 3 cars, filling in for the Silverliners. Meaning, there's no real way to run around. It also gets blocked off by the Pennsylvania Northeastern Power. But secondarily, assuming there was nothing in the way and that track was free, you still have to go onto SEPTA territory in order to run around and get through the control point. And that just adds operational complexity, and I didn't want to deal with that. So, to not deal with that, we don't run around. We do push-pull service.
Round, round, get around. And run,
Also,
run,
Chris, you
run.
bring up retro diesel but modern locomotive and frame. The former NSF units, as well as the UPE units, and I think a lot of the CNE units as well, are kind of like that. They're effectively GP38s, just with an E or an F unit body.
They upgraded the hell out of those.
Exactly.
Not to mention put all brand new electronics and like radios and QSR and all that other modern crap you got to put in there for be compliant.
Exactly. So you may notice I'm going back into the scenario editor because I'm going to show you guys one last little thing before we get going here. So we're going to get back up to Quaker Town. You may notice Quaker Town is kind of the most detailed area on the line, just purely because I spent the most time there doing work.
Right? Is it where you started?
Pretty much.
Understandable.
But if we go back, you'll notice our train's parked right here in the station, not interfering with the crossing.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have the engine shed right next to the old freight office. So the freight office would be retrofitted. Right now I think it's empty. But this would be rebuilt, restored, and retrofitted to be the office building. Then over here is the engine shed where the steamers are stored for maintenance.
Is that foreign power I see?
No, that's the SD50 brake power. So not foreign. It says CSX, it's ours. And by ours, I mean fictional QSRX. But yeah,
there's a doodle bug.
There is an RDC. And then over here, again, this is the kind of the steam engine shed. Now, I said there was 2 steam engines. Now, obviously, there's not a Jubilee model in game, and there's also not a 10-wheeler model in game. At least not for the ones I want. So on the left, we have an E6 Atlantic filling in for Jubilee 2929. And then on the right, we have a AT&N Connie filling in for 10-wheeler from the Canadian National 1533. Both with auxiliary tenders so they can just keep running. Now, here's the downside that I think a lot of people are going to go kind of boo and rah and not be happy with. Both engines would be converted to oil as a part of the cycle.
Boo.
Storing coal is not great, storing ash isn't great, so they would be oil burners.
Boo.
Shush you.
If I win the lottery and I build a railroad, I'm going to burn coal just for spite for that comment. And it's gonna be the ashiest coal I can find.
So it's not good for it.
But we'll burn a lot of it.
But yeah, they would have to be converted to oil because again, we're operating in urban environments and suburban environments. Storing coal. This is where the steam engines are. This is where they get fired up. There's not really a whole lot of space to do a whole lot of that around here. So
yes, and
going north a little bit though, we have a switch that we actually put in. This switch is not here in real life. Actually, half of this isn't here. This is an event station for the park here and the stage. And in real life, this is not here. Well, this passing sighting is actually here, I think. But this switch right here is not here. Also not here is this track diverging off to the right into the heavy maintenance facility, currently where those private cars, the private car experience that Bandan mentioned, are actually stored. This is where basically any heavy overhaul would take place, and actually part of the idea would be to restore passenger cars to Amtrak certified standards and to do heavy car work. Yeah, exactly, Bannon. We don't want to set neighbors on fire. It's not a good idea. And then further north,
if their houses catch on fire, that sounds like a them problem.
Going further north, we have some more kind of petroleum. Again, scenery is a little sparse, but this is kind of the location of a petroleum plant. A lot of these tracks are here, but only like a couple of them are in service. Then we have the lumber yard, which, I mean, you can see what it is. It's a lumber yard. And then we have
in fact be a lumber yard.
We have a cold storage facility. This is a cold storage facility for any cold frozen goods. So there that is. And yeah. So again, I'm going to open it up to kind of some other questions if people have questions. Otherwise, if there are no questions, we will kind of wrap things up here.
I have a question.
What is your question?
Why oil?
Because storing it's easier and dealing with it's easier.
Why?
Cry about it, Foamer.
But why?
Just because you don't accept the reason why doesn't mean there isn't a reason why.
Tell me why. Tell me why. I understand the reason why, but I reject your reality and substitute my own.
Well, that's your problem.
And what are you talking about? There's plenty of room for coal storage.
No, there isn't.
Yes. Yes, there is.
This is the primary.
You just don't see it.
Mate, are you telling me to bulldoze all of this property?
Yes.
No.
Yes. The beauty of it is that you could literally just have coal hopper or hoppers full of coal carted in on railroad or via your interchange, and then just have like a separate add a switch maybe in the yard there, and then have it dump out over a pit, and then you just feed it up via conveyor into your tender.
I don't think
Tell me
the
why it
spatial
wouldn't work.
relationship that you were implying exists.
Tell me why it wouldn't work.
Because it wouldn't. There's no space.
But it would.
The radius would be too tight. It's already a pain in
It
enough to
would work.
get everything in here.
I reject your reality and substitute my own.
Dude, you can do that all you want, but it doesn't change it.
Even if you look, you could do like a reverse switch right off of that one and like continue on next to that building for your coal dump, and then you'd have a chute right there.
Oh, dump the coal right on this property.
Like you buy
on property the railroad
a bit
doesn't
of.
own.
That's what I'm saying. You'd have to like buy a little sliver of property, then you just run a single track with a dump pit in it, and then you conveyor belt your coal into your tenders. Problem solved. Alternatively, you could just do like the other tourist railroads.
Alternatively, I could just not do that and burn oil.
But coal.
Plus, again,
Coal.
we are literally in the middle of town. This is downtown Quakertown.
Yes, and
Literally in the middle of town.
all I'm saying is I'm seeing a lot of brick buildings which don't catch on fire very easily.
Sure. Anyway. Any other
There's
questions?
also perfect cover. If it really became that big of an issue, you could probably make an agreement with the big industrial sector right there with a giant front end loader that could probably haul away ash.
You do realize this heavy repair facility involves buying a lot of township property and is the heavy repair facility, not the coal facility.
Well, if you've already bought the property, then great. You have plenty of room.
No.
You could literally just use
wood to check him.
You could do like the.
Given the power
Yes.
output.
Well, you could do the. Have you seen the Maxwell Locomotive Works engines?
I feel like I have.
The dude down in like New Zealand who's making.
The little concept that only works on little tiny 2-foot Garretts and not anything bigger.
He's supposed to. I haven't seen anything else in like a couple months. So last I saw, he was working on like a steam tractor, and he was trying to build like a mogul.
Well, good for him.
Specifically for tourist line.
Anyway, I did see a lot of people saying why. There is, in fact, a why. if you look in Lansdale, it's
But
a little
why?
tight, but it is there. There is a Y.
But why?
Pennsylvania Northeastern uses it to actually Y some New Hope cars presently, and just Y power and store stuff. And it provides easy access to the SEPTA Doylestown line going that way, or the SEPTA line going to Philly, which is that way, or the Stony Creek branch, or going to Norristown, which is that way. That would be Pennsylvania Northeastern's Y. That wouldn't be my Y. And that'd be part of the interchange. Like, it'd be, there would probably be an agreement saying, hey, we can use it if we need to. But given that it literally uses part of SEPTA's infrastructure in order to complete the Y move, that being Platform 2, SEPTA owns all the track right now, so technically it's all SEPTA's Y. But yeah,
Simple solution, buy SEPTA.
By SEPTA, yes. That would be. This is where the QSRX comes from. This is the origin story, the canon event of of the QSRX, the Quakertown Southern, from milepost 0 all the way up to milepost 18.
Wonderful.
So yeah, I wanted to share that with you guys because some people wonder where did the Quakertown Southern come from, and well, now we can point them to this live stream. So
Point to the live stream with the point-to-point operation.
Exactly. Precisely. The point-to-point railroad. That is a straight line with a squiggle in the middle. Canon event sounds like less. God damn it, Bandit.
What did he say?
Canon event sounds like a blast. Does the QNS have freight cars? The QNS operates freight at an interchange. It does not really have its own freight apart from its own fleet of like ballast hoppers for internal use. And even then, that might end up being contracted out / brought in at the interchange. So there's not really a consist for photo freights because unfortunately the operation isn't really there to support a photo freight, but it's like kind of doable. So,
I mean, technically speaking, if you had like one of the major railroads store cars on your railroad, like a lot of short lines do, you could borrow those and run them as a photo freight.
could also get in some historic cars and just have them on the siding. It's just due to the not having a turntable here and only having a Y at one end and not really having access to it. Having a photo freight consist, while doable, is tricky.
Run, tender, forward.
You would have to.
Yeah.
And
Technically, historically accurate.
technically, yeah. And luckily, it's only 25 miles an hour, not 40. So, you know, it's doable. But it's also one of those things where, keep in mind, the whole point of this would be providing a tourist commuter service, and the second aspect of that, the commuter part, if you had a photo freight, you would have to work around the regularly scheduled passenger train and the regularly scheduled and operated freight train, which would make for fun operations. I'm not gonna lie, it would. But it would just it would be like, why are we doing this?
Dipping, dodging, ducking, and weaving, bobbing, and turning on the different tracks.
Exactly. Now you may notice if we wanted to, we do have a runaround here in Quakertown, but again, as mentioned earlier, in Lansdale there is no
runaround.
There is, but there's no easy access to it. And plus, having the runaround here would involve moving our freight tower.
I mean, technically speaking, there is a runaround close-ish to there, right?
To Lansdale, yeah, but it's also usually ends up getting
So
used for car storage.
yeah, if it wasn't used for car storage, you could like push back to that point and then run around.
Yeah. Running 25 miles an hour 10 to first is fine. Yes, exactly. But for regular touristy commuter ops, gotta break out the dismals. So, the weekends, the steam engines get the fly.
You know, and with an Atlantic, I mean a Jubilee, as you would want to have. They kind of want to go fast.
Yeah. They
Is
do.
that's
And
like
actually,
their
to
whole.
that point, Bandon brings up 25 miles an hour seems very slow for a commuter service. It comes down to condition of track, and to upgrade the track to do 40 on a regular basis. One, surprisingly, around some of these corners, specifically like this one and this one here, some of those corners you do not want to be doing 40 around. And sure, you can just slow down for those corners, but then all of a sudden you have to slow down for the corners, and you're not really getting any benefit from the higher speed. You're getting some, but not a lot.
But big drivers go burr.
Big drivers do in fact go burr. Accurate statement by the one, the only, the general, who I want to thank a lot for joining. Thank you.
Yes, you're welcome. Yeah, I would have joined you earlier, but I had to go take care of some apartment stuff, so.
That's fair. Also, has been Sam going push full service with a steamer on each end? What is this, England? What is this, England?
Oh, I found something the other day. You know how we were talking about the other day? We were talking about their little 15-inch minimum gauge stuff that they got running around.
Yeah, the Romney High and Dorchester or something. Yeah.
I found another one, and I cannot remember the name of it for the life of me right now. Hold on. But it was like it looked like an actual full-blown locomotive.
Yeah.
But it was running on 15-inch gauge.
Yeah.
Like it was an outside frame. It was an outside frame 262.
Yeah, they have a.
But it had like a headlight and everything.
Yeah.
Like I know they have some ridiculous stuff. Like they got Garrett's and all sorts of stuff out there too with those. Which honestly, if I ever get the land and or money, well, I guess land and money to do it, I had thought about trying to do something like that. I found it. Doesn't tell me the name of the railroad, unfortunately, but I found a picture of the locomotive. And I know for a fact that it's not for sale. BVR, the Brew Valley Railway, or Burr Valley Railway.
What? Zim was starting to list awesome railroads. Romney High, then Dimchurch, the Ravenglass, and SKL. But you said it wasn't those.
No, hold on. So for reference, I just put the locomotive in the streaming channel chat. But it's the BURE Burr Valley Railway. Specifically the number 9. The Mark Timothy Roxham.
Okay. Okay, that's a neat little 262.
Yeah, I mean it's a big choo-choo for 15-inch gauge. That's a big chunky choo-choo. Like for scale, here's a dude standing next to it servicing it. Hold on. Like for reference, that's a dude standing next to it actually servicing it. So you know, it's a beefy little choo-choo.
It is a beefy little choo-choo. And just like beefy little choo-choos, we have a beefy little bit of lore on the Quaker Town and Southern. If anyone thinks of any questions, feel free in streams in the future to kind of pop in and put them in. But until next time, guys, unfortunately, there's no more streams this week for me. My week is set to get incredibly busy starting tomorrow. But we'll be back again on Monday. Thank you again to General for joining me. Thank you to JSJ and CBK Studios for your super chats. It's always greatly appreciated. And until next time, folks, stay happy, stay healthy, stay wonderful. Consider joining the Discord, like the video, and maybe consider subscribing. It all helps, and I greatly appreciate it. Until next time, guys, have fun. Bye.
Bye.